Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video, we're taking a look at the track Afterglow by the Swedish rock band Smash Into Pieces. This is track number 2 on their 8th studio album Ghost Code, which did land yesterday. We've already got to hear 9 tracks from this previously unreleased album since 2022, when they've been releasing as singles one by one. 2 of the tracks on this album do actually feature as their entries to Melody Festivalen in 2023 and 2024 respectively, the Swedish pre-tournament effectively to decide who gets into Eurovision. Both years they did come third, so still a very impressive showing from the band with 6 Feet Under and Heroes Are Calling. And they've been building their story, or continue to do so, as we do see them develop and continue to develop the story from Arcadia with this album by kind of going back there after escaping it with albums such as Disconnect and New Horizon from 2022 and 2021 respectively. So will this track emit a warm glow or simply fade to black? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds.
We all fall apart, buried deep behind the smile. We all have scars. There is truth in our lives, 'cause the shadows never hide in who we are. We're stuck in a game of play and pretend. Wide awake, we're caught in the blind. It's like we don't see what's right in front of our eyes. We're stuck in a game of play and pretend. We're left in the ashes again and again. After all the smoke and mirrors, we are only saints and
Okay, we can really see a lot of power and some beautiful moments really coming through on this track. I love the introduction of the piano keys, really adding this softer intro into this actual track and then mixing it with some of these very blocky, chunky guitars that are really coming through to almost show the disparity between this heaven and this Armageddon, these two kind of different statuses that we do have. And we can really see the blending of Arcadia and the real world in this track. If you haven't followed the band with a lot of their story and a lot of their lore, it all revolves around their drummer Apoc, who is the Apocalypse DJ. They entered Arcadia in a previous album. They managed to eventually escape that, but you kind of got this corruption of the two worlds kind of interweaving between each other. So it's actually a great way for them to reference in a lot of the styles of their music, where we've actually seen a return on this album so far of some very electronic elements, but really fitting with that Arcadia theme, but definitely evoking much more of a rock sound, and we can certainly see that being very prevalent on this. And as we do open the track, we all fall apart, buried deep behind the smile. We all have scars, there is truth in our lives. It's a song that really focuses on the idea of kind of hiding behind the mask. We've seen them do that with a lot of their music and use the story to help them do that. And it's something that really does reflect in real world, the idea of hiding behind a screen, hiding yourself in these virtual worlds and things like that, having a different persona on maybe social media and online than you do in real life, or trying to escape today's world by just burying yourself in this alternate reality, VR and things like that. We see the band captured in that VR and see this altered state where they're trying to turn this other world world into their perfect heaven because they're not happy with the world they currently live in. So I like the way they're continuing to bringing some very heavy messages on the music. We're stuck in a game and playing pretend. We're left in the ashes again and again. So every time we get this perfect heaven, we eventually corrupt it and turn it into Armageddon. Like Arcadia, we're seen as this perfect world that's now become corrupted, and we've seen the corruption of Apoc in previous songs as well really bring that through. After all the smoke and mirrors, we are only saints and sinners waiting for Afterglow. Ultimately, the Afterglow is kind of that next life, effectively, that's really coming through, that light that effectively takes us away from this world. We're just trying to buy time and just kind of find ways to just kind of get through the day effectively. The idea of saints and sinners, we're also referencing this idea of heaven and Armageddon. So I love these constant comparisons we do get, not only in the musical style, but also in the actual lyrics as well. Wide awake, we're calling the blind. It's likely we don't see what's right in front of our eyes. And that's very much true. We kind of just constantly have the blinkers on in life. We're kind of just trying to kind of just focus on getting through it rather than kind of being open to the world. I mean, how many times do you go somewhere, maybe go to a gig, and you've just spent the whole time recording it rather than actually enjoying the moment? And it's actually that thing of how often do you look back at the video that you do record? So it's that idea of kind of not seeing what's right in front of our eyes. We're using screens and things like that to really capture everything, or these other worlds, to get into this effectively game where we are playing pretend. So I love the way they're bringing that in and really blending these softer and heavier elements of music.
Till we're burning out. Are we headed for the free fall? Are we hoping for a miracle? Starting fires till we burning out. Are we headed for the free fall? After all the smoke and mirrors, we are only saints and sinners waiting for Afterglow. Did we take a perfect heaven, turn it into Armageddon, waiting for Afterglow? In the Afterglow, in the Afterglow, in the Afterglow.
What a beautifully eloquent but very powerful track really coming in from the band with this one. And I really love the way that they're incorporating these complete parallels and smashing them together, really exploring the idea how we've turned this perfect heaven into Armageddon. This world that we had that had everything we want, we've gradually destroyed it. We've gone onto this virtual world that's then been destroyed effectively. And you can see that in the video, almost Arcadia's elements really kind of corrupting the world and leading to this kind of widespread destruction really coming through. And we can see in the bridge, are we hoping for a miracle, starting fires till we're burning out? We're kind of starting this self-destructive nature. Are we headed for a free fall? Are we hoping for a miracle, this divine intervention, looking for a way out, looking for something to save us? And it's not always necessarily going to happen, and we're just going to kind of free falling effectively towards this Armageddon, so this low point effectively that we do have. And I love the way they reference in the idea of smoke and mirrors about things like virtual reality, and the way that it's augmented, it's not actually what exists in real time. So you can really see they're focused on that, and we've seen a lot of that across this album as they do make references back to Arcadia and continue that storyline, which really aids the band in going for these musical choices and musical styles. They've got a reason to dip into very different things. And I also think the law really helps the band to continue to put out heavy amounts of music. I mean, they've been releasing so many albums since they actually did incorporate Apoc, the Apocalypse DJ, into their band. I mean, 2015, 2017, 2018, 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2024. You see the albums are just flying out left, right, and centre, but the band are so passionate about their music, they just pretty much write and tour all the time. And you can really see how their music hasn't become stale because of the fact that they've danced between these different eras. They've interweaved this story, this this lore that really kind of adds a much more cinematic feel to the band's music and really aids in these very powerful vocals we do often get from Chris Adam. His ability to just power into these very gravelly sounds that really just have that very strong emphasis, but then also switch into something much softer. The use of the keys and the drums to really add that very soft kind of element, as well as something much more thudding and much more powerful, which they do love to include in many of their tracks. And then also the guitars, just having that ability to provide something much more rhythmic, but also something very blocky, very chunky that we have seen, especially on things such as Arcadia and on this most recent album as well. So I love the way they continue to develop their story, and it'd be interesting to see how they continue to do so going forward, which era they will revert to next. But it's been great to see them step back into Arcadia with a number of the tracks from this latest album and just continue the story, seeing the corruption of APOC and how that's affected Arcadia and how the two worlds have effectively become intertwined. So there we have it, another piece of the Ghost Code has revealed itself, but I would love to know your thoughts about this track in the comments section below. How do you feel it lives up to some of the other tracks that we have heard from this most recent album? If you have heard the album already, then also feel free to let me know your thoughts about that as well, how it lives up to some of their previous discography. Also, if you would like to see more Smash Into Pieces content, I have covered a variety of the tracks from this latest album in separate videos, which you can find a link to in the description of this one. I did also do a full review of their most recent album prior to Ghost Code in the form of Disconnect as well. Also, if you would like to see more content like this overall, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next audio analysis.